What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here of the Bottom Line View, here with my first ever NFL mock draft for fantasy football. I'm here and it's on playdraft.com. I'm going into a best ball league, so this does legitimately have a little bit of money on it, $3 to be exact. So I'm going to be drafting it exactly the way that I would draft a normal team. What best ball is, it's a great way to do mock drafts and to do fantasy drafts for fun without having to really do the whole stress of the whole season of fantasy football, because all best ball is it's just drafting, because you draft your entire team, and I'm going to go draft my entire team, and I never have to make a move throughout the entire season. If you want to do this, go to playdraft.com. I'm not sponsored at all. I'm just letting you know this is a great site for mock drafts and just to have fun before fantasy season even starts. So I'm at pick number 5. The first two picks have gone off, Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. In my head right now, I'm probably thinking, Julio Jones or Beckham, maybe LaShawn McCoy in my head. Usually in the first round, I just take the best value. First two picks, usually easily David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. Now I'm on the clock. So I'm going to select Odell Beckham. Julio Jones just went before me. I actually have Odell Beckham slightly higher than Julio this year. I think this is going to be Odell's best season yet. Right after me went A.J. Green, LaShawn McCoy. I would have considered LaShawn McCoy at my pick as well, just to have a running back, a stud running back in the first round. I feel is pretty crucial. But if I can get one of those receivers that I feel is just so safe and so reliable, and they can create big plays for you. This is also a half-point PPR league, so it's right in the middle of people that play standard or people that play PPR. It might even be the best format because it doesn't overpower receivers, but it doesn't overpower touchdowns. So it values both styles of play. And I've never actually done a league that's half-point PPR. I've always rather been PPR or standard, mostly PPR. But this is a good way to kind of play in the middle and to show you guys how I would pick in the middle of things, not just favoring PPR players or not just favoring guys that get in the end zone more than anyone else. So at the beginning of the second round, interesting, Melvin Gordon fell all the way to the second round, which I think is a great steal for whoever picked him. DeMarco Murray also fell to the first pick of the second round. Devontae Freeman and Jordy Nelson went at the end of the first round. Michael Thomas just went. So right now, I'm pretty much thinking I got 3 picks to go, two picks, and then I'm up. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to lean towards going to a running back, because that's just how I work. I'm not necessarily going to go after one position all day or the other. So now they've left me with an interesting dilemma. Of course, Zeke is still on the board, but I really don't feel like Zeke is the value here because, like I said in my video before, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm going to select Jordan Howard from the Chicago Bears. Had the second most rushing yards last year. I feel like that's a good pick in the middle of the second round. I've even seen Jordan Howard go in the end of the first round. So for him to drop all the way down to the middle of the second, I feel is a good pick for me. And I'm solid at running back and receiver right now, so I have one for each position. Right now, basically the first 4 to 6 rounds, I'm getting as many running backs and receivers as I possibly can. My whole draft strategy is to build running back and build receiver. Those are the positions that you need the most on your fantasy team. Those are the positions that ask for the most players as well. So just by logic, you want to stack those positions to have the best ability to really be successful. So Zeke just went right after me, which is interesting. He is suspended 6 games. Todd Gurley, Aaron Rodgers went at the end of the second round. Now the whole quarterback tight end situation, Gronk went right before me actually. So I would not select a quarterback in the first 3 rounds. I would wait until the 4th round to pick a quarterback, and that would be between Rodgers and Brady. In the probably the end of the second, early 3rd round, I would consider picking Rob Gronkowski because I feel like he's so good compared to everyone at his position that it's the value there. Now Dez Bryant just went after Amari Cooper. Wow, that's a good pick. 3rd round for Amari Cooper. I think that's a solid pick. I have him in my top 10 for receivers, so A lot of running backs going. Todd Gurley went in the second round, which it's a good pick. I mean, usually when I picked Todd Gurley, it was like the last pick of the second round or the early third round. Usually when you have first pick, you'll have the ability to pick Todd Gurley, those kind of guys. So right now, it is my pick. Lamar Miller is on the board. I can't pick the receivers for some reason. It's not letting me do that. What the hell? Oh, okay. T.Y. Hilton is going to be my pick. I feel like he's just the best player on the board. So that's just the easiest thing to do in this situation. Basically in the third, fourth round, basically the first to I don't even know what round, but the first and second round, you're kind of getting a feel for how the draft's going. And I felt like the position that was falling to me there was receiver. I'm high on T.Y. Hilton, as I am basically every year. He led the NFL in receiving yards last year. And I just think that's a solid pick for my team. I already have Odell Beckham, so now I have a really strong 1-2 punch at wide receiver. Some people may have went running back, but in that area, like guys like Lamar Miller, Isaiah Crowell, Marshawn Lynch, Ty Montgomery, Joe Mixon, these guys I'm not sold on to pick that high in my draft. I know that T.Y. Hilton's going to produce. I know what he's going to do. Now, see, look, everyone else is doing the same thing. 3 receivers in a row. That's also something that I need to tell you guys. You need to be ahead of the trend when it comes to picking a position. If you're going to pick a quarterback, try and pick the quarterback before the run goes, or try and pick the receiver. So what I did was I picked a receiver before the run went. So the run went, meaning that Doug Baldwin, Demaryius Thomas, Keenan Allen, Terrell Pryor, all those picks went in the next 6 picks. Actually, Marshawn Lynch and Tom Brady. Tom Brady went in the third round. I feel like that's overvaluing even for a Patriots fan. But it is what it is. People are going to get after a quarterback. And if you play that way, I'm not really going to tell you the way that you should play. I'm just giving you, the best advice I possibly can. And usually I am one to wait on a quarterback unless I get absolute value from the position. And the same has to be said about the tight end position. I am the exact same way. It's interesting to see that Sammy Watkins is falling. So it's my pick. Isaiah Crowell is there, which I feel like is a good value at this pick. I like his situation in Cleveland. He had a really good season last year. They upgraded the offensive line. Isaiah Crowell is going to be my pick. So now I have basically achieved what I wanted. I've got 2 running backs and 2 receivers in the first 4 rounds. I don't always do that. Sometimes I have 3 receivers. Sometimes I have 3 running backs even. Or maybe I'll have a tight end and 2 receivers and a running back. You never really know, right? If I get Gronk. But usually it's 2 running backs, 2 receivers if you can get the right value for those players. Sometimes people will be picking more running backs than receivers, and you'll have to pick a receiver because that's just the value. So what I'm trying to tell you is just base your draft off of the value of where you think these players should be picked. So in a video coming up, I'll actually be talking about where the players should be drafted and where I'm drafting the players. So I felt like in the 4th round, Isaiah Crowell was a very good pick. I've seen him go in the 3rd round. I've seen him go as high as the 2nd round. So that's a good pick for me, in my opinion, because I feel like he has the potential to break out and be a top 10 fantasy running back this year. I have a lot of confidence in my receivers. This next pick is going to be interesting for me. Do I decide to go running back because I'm a little less confident in my running backs, or do I go with the receiver? Because there are guys like Edelman, Landry, Crabtree on the board, Golden Tate, Larry Fitzgerald, a lot of really, really good receivers still on the board. Plus, I'm like right in the middle of the draft. So I don't really know where I'm going to go quite yet. I have one more pick until I'm up, and I'm pretty much going to be deciding this on the spot. But what I'm thinking in my head is, yes, I have to start 3 receivers, but with Isaiah Crowell and Jordan Howard being my top 2 picks, I feel like I may have to kind of enforce that pick because I'm going to go with Carlos Hyde. I have him relatively high in my rankings. I'm high on Carlos Hyde. I think the Kyle Shanahan offense will get the best out of him. and I think he could be a top 12 fantasy running back as well. So I want to reinforce my running back situation with Carlos Hyde, Isaiah Crowell, and Jordan Howard. Now I don't really need to address the position for a few rounds because I already have 3 starting caliber running backs. I already have 3 running backs that are rather a running back 1 or a running back 2. So I don't have to worry about the running back position. Sometimes I'll go with the receiver there. There's still a lot of good receivers. Michael Crabtree, Jarvis Landry, Golden Tate, Larry Fitzgerald, Willie Snead, Stephon Diggs. And you also have to look at the board, right? So the board is telling me, looking at the running back position, there are not too many great running back options left. There's still some that I like. I really like Dalvin Cook. Mark Ingram's a decent third running back. Danny Woodhead in PPR leagues. CJ Anderson, Amir Abdullah, Bly Powell even, Theo Riddick in a PPR. So these players, like, you could have as your third running back, and I wouldn't mind that at all. But for me, why is it showing me Jarvis Landry? Anyways, for me, I just feel better in picking receivers later in the draft because I know I'm better at drafting receivers. You may be better at finding the potential in running backs, but me personally, this is kind of like a personal preference. I personally know when to pick a receiver, and I feel confident in who I'm picking at the receiver position. I know how to evaluate the talent, and I know the situations better than at the running back position. And I also feel like a wide receiver position is easier to kind of dictate. So now there's Willie Snead, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, Jamison Crowder, Deshaun Jackson, all on the board here. This is an interesting pick. I'm going to go with the guy that I feel like has probably... See, it's between the top 3 guys on the board. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders because I feel like he's the safest player. He doesn't really have the biggest upside, but he's going to produce every single week for me. It was really close there. I almost went with Stephon Diggs. I almost went with Willie Snead. It was really between Willie Snead and Emmanuel Sanders for me there. But on my board, I actually have Emmanuel Sanders higher, and I thought about it for a little bit. I like Willie Snead's situation a little bit better, but I know what I'm getting from Emmanuel Sanders, and as a third receiver to just plug and play him, I just think that's a really good option. So the next pick I have will probably again be a receiver, depending on how the draft is going, but I'll probably go with more of the high upside guy. So I got the safe pick. Again, fantasy football is not only about going off rankings, but it's going off roster construction. So once you have like the safer, like good, like the players you know that will be consistent for you and you can kind of plug and play, you're looking for the high upside guys. So maybe next pick, if Stephon Diggs is there, I'll pick him. Maybe I'll pick Calvin Benjamin because I know he's going to have these huge weeks with touchdowns, especially in these leagues where it's best ball, where you don't set your lineup, so you always get the maximum effort from every player. You always get the maximum week. So if I didn't even start Jamison Crowder 1 week, I'd still get the production from him in a best ball league because I don't have to set my lineup. It's just boom, boom. I'm picking all my picks, and it's just the draft. That's what I love about best ball. But in redraft leagues, you're trying to construct the best roster you possibly can. And sometimes you'll pick a safe player to team them up with a high upside player. So I'm picking in a couple of picks here. Still a ton of receivers on the board. I'm going to go back to the regular screen if I can here and just see who's at the running back position. So there's guys like Amir Abdullah, Eddie Lacy, Paul Perkins. Not extremely confident in any of those players. Probably outside of Amir Abdullah, who I feel like going to have a huge season. So Stephon Diggs is there, Jamison Crowder, Deshaun Jackson, Calvin Benjamin. Right now, I would lean towards picking Stephon Diggs because I think he has the highest upside of any of the players. Jamison Crowder, maybe. Calvin Benjamin, maybe as well. So Adrian Peterson was picked, which I feel like is way too high. Now it's the 7th round, and I just got Stephon Diggs. So I have Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders, T.Y. Hilton, and Odell Beckham at my receivers. And at running back, I have Carlos Hyde, Isaiah Crowell, and Jordan Howard. I feel like this is shaping up to be a really, really good team with a mix of high upside and safe. So I might go running back next pick with maybe kind of one of those safer players because Carlos Hyde, Isaiah Crowell, and Jordan Howard are all kind of high upside players. So maybe the next pick I get will be something not sexy and maybe like a Frank Gore. But we'll see what happens. I'm just going to pick the best player available. I'm still not, it hasn't even crossed my mind to pick a quarterback yet. If Andrew Luck is there, I may consider it in my next pick, but I have no idea what's going on with the Andrew Luck situation. So, if you have a closer idea to what's happening with Andrew Luck, and he's there in the 7th, 8th round, bro, I'm taking him all day. But because it's only August 12th, and I don't really know what's going on with him, I may shy away from picking him. But for the sake of picking him, I might do it, just to show you guys why I would pick him, like the value of him being there. So we'll see what happens. Derrick Henry just went off the board in the 7th round. So a guy, I don't get the Derrick Henry hype like that. Like, that's just too high for me. A guy that's a backup is being drafted in the 7th round. He's not even a guy that shares time. So if Andrew Luck is still falling. It's the middle of the 8th round. I would typically pick Andrew Luck in the 6th round. So for me, like, that is extreme value. Even though, like, he might not be. So the report is that Chris Ballard doesn't expect Andrew Luck to open the season on the physically unable to perform list. So if that report is true, I just got a guy that's a top 4 fantasy quarterback in the 8th round. So for the sake of me showing you how I draft, I'm going to pick Andrew Luck. So Andrew Luck is now my quarterback, and I got him in the 8th round. Why did I pick Andrew Luck? I bet you guys could guess it. It's value. I'm picking Andrew Luck because it's value. The 8th round for Andrew Luck, when some people have him as their number 2 fantasy quarterback, as high as their number 2. He finished as the number 1 in 2014. He finished in the top 5 last year. So I feel like this is a really good pick. Even with the injury concern, I'm willing to risk it because I can team him up with another quarterback that's maybe safer. Like, looking at the quarterbacks here, I could go down the list. There's so many. I could team him up with later in the draft, a Matt Stafford, a Phillip Rivers, even an Andy Dalton, who I feel like are competent starting quarterback. Phillip Rivers and Matt Stafford have a high upside as well because they've done it before and they're in a great offense. So that's how I feel about picking Andrew Luck in the 8th round. This next pick, if Amir Abdullah is still falling, I'm picking him for sure. The receiver position, I'm not loving the options right now. Jeremy Maclin, Pierre Garçon, these are all kind of safer options. And if I was still looking for a starter, I may go after one of these guys. Amir Abdullah just went off the board. Tight end, not loving the situation as well. Delaney Walker is on the board. I like Cameron Meredith. That's kind of an high upside pick at receiver. Paul Perkins could be a decent pick at running back. I may end up going with Frank Gore or LeGarrette Blount to be on the safe side of things. This is also a half-point PPR league, so you only get half point for catching the football. Paul Perkins is there. I've been down on him recently. I like him still, but I'm kind of down on him recently. Jeremy Maclin is there as well. Cameron Meredith. These guys are all really good players. Derek Carr, but I don't want a receiver right now. I'm gonna go with Blount. I just feel like he's going to have the best opportunity to score touchdowns. I feel like he's also a very safe pick. He doesn't get injured a lot. He's a big back. And I need to team up kind of a safer pick with these high upside running backs that I do have. So I'm going to go with Blount. I wouldn't blame you if you would have went with Gore or Perkins, to be honest with you, or even with the receiver. But I wanted to balance my team out. So I have 4 running backs and I have 4 receivers. I also have Andrew Luck on my team. Now, again, a running back streak is going. So 3 picks in a row. Blount, Riddick, Gore, all being picked there. I could have went with Riddick as well. In a half point, I'm not as high on him as a full point PPR league. Terrence West is still there. Duke Johnson, Robert Kelly, I think could have been a good pick. Thomas Rawls. Thomas Rawls is actually supposed to be the starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks, as far as I know. I don't know exactly what's going on right now, but that's the last report that happened. So John Brown just got picked. I hope he's healthy, man, because that guy's a good player. It's just He's not healthy. So the next pick, basically, right now I'm just deciding who's the biggest high upside player that I can get. And Martellus Bennett is still there, so I may consider getting a tight end now. I could also consider getting another receiver. Eric Ebron is also there. So this is interesting. Who's going to drop to me? Who's going to drop to me? So Meredith is actually ADP 91. So that kind of means that he's in the 9th round. It shows the ADP here that I like. Kirk Cousins is there. I could team up with Andrew Luck. Don't really want to do that, though, but I love Kirk Cousins. I usually pick him. Thielen. It's my pick again. I really, really like Cameron Meredith. I also like Martellus Bennett, but I'm going to go with Cameron Meredith and hope that Eric Ebron slides to me in my next pick. So it's kind of taking chances, but Cameron Meredith is the #1 receiver on the Bears, and it's not even relatively close. So I feel like that's a great pick with huge upside. And once you have like your first 3 players at each position, you're just throwing darts at high upside players. And Meredith almost had 1,000 yards. So for me to get him at the 5th receiver is absolutely amazing. And he could end up being a regular high upside starter for me every single week. So I feel like that's a great pick at that spot, especially with the roster I already have. Next, I'm hoping that Bennett, I guess Bennett is the guy because did Ebron go? No, Ebron did not go. So I'm hoping that Bennett or Ebron slide to me, and I'll pick them in the 11th round. If not, I'll go somewhere else. Now a bunch of quarterbacks are being picked. There's literally been Cam Newton, Kirk Cousins, Marcus Mariota, Ben Roethlisberger, Derek Carr, and Matt Stafford all in a row. So you know what that means? If you're still in need of a quarterback, don't freaking pick a quarterback right now because everybody is picking a quarterback. You're wasting. That means that you could pick value somewhere else. And that's what might end up happening. Kenny Brick goes, so a tight end might fall to me. Like, Martellus Bennett is a top 10 tight end. He might end up falling to me in the 11th round. That's pretty solid. Or Eric Ebron, who I also have in my top 10. There's other players on the board right now, like Duke Johnson, who's good in a PPR league. I think there's still Thomas Rawls, or no? I think Thomas Rawls is still there. Jonathan Stewart, Matt Forte, these guys are still there. Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers, those guys are still there at quarterback. So this next pick is definitely going to be a tight end. Martellus Bennett just went, but I'm happy enough to pick Eric Ebron at this spot. So I have Andrew Luck, Jordan Howard, Isaiah Crowell, Carlos Hyde, LeGarrette Blount, Odell Beckham, T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders, Stephon Diggs, Cameron Meredith, and Eric Ebron. Also in these best ball leagues, if you are drafting in best ball, you need to keep in mind that you need to pick multiple players at each position because you're not doing waivers. You're not setting your lineup. So if Andrew Luck indeed is hurt, I need to think about picking another quarterback. Or if Eric Ebron doesn't turn out to be good, I need to think about picking another tight end like a Jack Doyle. You know what I mean? So It's this next pick I may consider picking another quarterback depending on what happens. So we'll just see what happens and who falls to me at the next pick. I hope you guys are enjoying all the NFL content on the channel. And if you are new, just, man, check out the channel. It's got a ton of NFL content. Every single day is basically an NFL video on the channel. And we're having a lot of fun making them. It's also been really successful, so it makes us, even happier to watch you guys watch and all the comments and all the likes. It really makes us very happy that we're putting in the work and it's paying off. So thank you guys for appreciating the content, supporting the channel, and there's going to be a ton of NFL content, including fantasy, throughout the season. James White, Thomas Rawls just went, Ted Ginn, Tyrod Taylor. A lot of people just picking, players that they feel kind of can break out. And also what I like about these best ball leagues is that there's a lot of people that are really fantasy savvy that are doing these leagues because they're having to put, small amounts of money, and it's best ball, and not a lot of people are savvy on best ball. You don't get a lot of people that are just casual fantasy football players playing best ball. So you're playing against good players, even if you're just mock drafting. So looking at the tight ends, I'll probably pass. After Jack Doyle, I feel like it's a severe drop, even with Hunter Henry being there. There's still running backs like Jonathan Stewart and Matt Forte there who are starting running backs. Adam Thielen, Mike Wallace, Jordan Matthews. Who am I going to go with here? There's Dak Prescott, Phillip Rivers. I'm going to go with Phillip Rivers because I'm not sure about the Andrew Luck situation. And I feel like Phillip Rivers is the safer of the two of Dak Prescott. So I'm going to go with Phillip Rivers, and I'm really confident in the Chargers offense. So I love Rivers. He's probably my second favorite quarterback behind Brady in the NFL. So I'm going to go with him. And just to secure my quarterback position, because I'm not sure what's happening with Luck. So even there, in the 12th round, I got Phillip Rivers, who could be a top 10 fantasy quarterback, and I still have Andrew Luck. So in a regular draft, I could have Andrew Luck and Phillip Rivers, and if Andrew Luck stays healthy, I could end up trading Phillip Rivers. Or if Andrew Luck plays really, really good at the beginning of the season and I don't feel safe keeping him the entire year, I could trade Andrew Luck for something like a running back or a receiver. So I'm really confident in this roster right now, and I don't really know where to go. I'm just going to pick the favorite player I have on the board at this point. I like Adam Thielen. CJ Proccess could be kind of a high upside guy to pick. Jonathan Stewart and Matt Forte are still there, and they're starting running backs. P. Ryan, I heard he's not having a great camp, though. Who else is there? I like Kenny Stills in the later rounds. Jamal Williams is kind of a dart throw. So one of these guys up here, like an Adam Thielen, Mike Wallace might be a good kind of best ball pick. Because in best ball, you're looking just for guys that get the most points every week. And Mike Wallace is one of those guys that's a deep threat that can, give you touchdowns and stuff like that. So I might end up going with him. CJ Proccess also. Matt Forte also could be a good pick. This is tough. I don't know where I'm going to go. So I'm up in one pick. Okay, so right now I'm probably going to go with a running back, and it's the 13th round. I'm going to go with CJ Proccess here. He returned to practice on Tuesday. Okay, that was August, early August. I'm not worried about his injuries. I'm going to go CJ Proccess because I think he has bigger upside than Matt Forte. I believe in his talent. I believe in the Seahawks. And I have slightly more talent at receiver than I do running back, so I'm going to pick a running back. Also with this, I have more faith that I can pick kind of one of those high upside guys at receiver than I do at running back later in the draft. So, and also this draft is longer than most drafts because it's best ball, because you don't pick up waivers, because you don't set your lineup. You get more picks in best ball leagues. So I don't know. Is this? I guess this might be longer than a normal mock draft. I don't think so, though, because every pick is 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. So everyone's picking really, really fast. And everyone's on their phone or on, the computer doing this. So because it's $3, like people, the difference is amazing between a free league and a $3 league. Because like $3 leagues, people will stick around to pick their entire team. $0, people will leave after the first 5 rounds. It's amazing the difference between these leagues, and that's why I wanted to do a best ball draft as a mock draft, because you'll actually get real people picking against me. So, that guy went with the Galladay pick from Detroit. Apparently, he's actually having a really, really good camp, so that could be an interesting pick for that guy. Jeremy Hill is actually the starting running back for the Cincinnati Bengals right now. And he is all the way down here. Where is he? I don't even see him. Oh, Darren McFadden is there. I am definitely going to pick Darren McFadden next if I have the chance. I feel like that's someone that just everyone forgot about. But because Darren McFadden could be a startable running back in the first 6 weeks of the season. So I'm going to pick Darren McFadden on this pick. Yeah, I just spotted that too. Sometimes, this is another thing to take note of. Sometimes the draft board of your Yahoo, ESPN, NFL.com, wherever you're playing, the draft board is different from where you value players. So you need to play with the draft board. Sometimes you can wait on a player because they are lower on a draft board than you have them, or sometimes you have to pick them higher. Usually I never pick anyone higher than where I value them. Or you have to pick them higher where they are on the board because that's disgusting. Like Darren McFadden, even though this just happened yesterday, like they're going to move him up to like the, I don't know, probably like the 9th round. It's the 14th round right now. And Darren McFadden, I just got him. So I feel like that's a great, great pick. Like Jeremy Hill, that was a good pick by the next guy who just picked. So coming up, Matt Forte is still there, but I'm probably going to go with the receiver because I already have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs. So I'm probably going to go with this receiver. I don't see any tight ends coming up. Cameron Brate, O.J. Howard, C.J. Fedorowicz, Charles Clay. A lot of players. Austin Severian Jenkins is an interesting tight end because he might be the number 1 receiver on his team. John Ross could be a good pick here. Mohamed Sanu, Kenny Stills. I like the Kenny Stills pick, especially with Jay Cutler being there. Kevin White, Tyler Lockett, J.J. Nelson, Brashard Perryman. A lot of people like him. Robbie Anderson could end up being his number 1 receiver on his team. I don't even know if he is a good player, though. John Ross, man. I'm thinking about going with Kenny Stills here. Thinking about going with Kenny Stills. Let's see Kenny Stills. Kenny Stills had 9 touchdowns last year, and he's still on the board. So I'm gonna go with Kenny Stills. I think Kenny Stills has high upside, like especially in a best ball league. Kenny Stills is gonna have weeks where he scores a touchdown or 2. He's gonna have weeks where he has 100 yards because of those long bombs. So I feel like that's a good pick, especially in this format. And that's also a tip. You have to know your format. So if you're in a PPR league, get guys like Darren Sproles, who's still on the board. You know, they catch more passes. Or if you're in a standard league, pick a guy like Latavius Murray. I'm just going off the board right now. Latavius Murray, who will score more touchdowns than catch passes. In a best ball league, you know, you're more likely to go with a guy like who's an example here? Chris Hogan is an example of a best ball league. On a really, really good offense, is going to have a week or 2 or 3 where he's in the top 10 or the top 20 receivers because he's going to have a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, or he's going to have 100 yards because, you know, he's with Tom Brady. He's with the Patriots. So next pick, I might consider picking a tight end. So I only have 3 picks left. So I need to use these wisely. I have 6 receivers, 6 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, 1 tight end. I don't see any quarterbacks that I love. I could pick 2 tight ends here. And usually what I do is I go with 3 quarterbacks in a best ball league. 3 quarterbacks, 6 receivers, and 6 running backs, and 3 tight ends. But it just depends. I like to stay even with that. I'm going to go with John Ross because the guy has so much upside. It's insane. So I'm going to go with John Ross on that pick. So I have 7 receivers. Now I'm going to definitely go with the tight end. So it depends who I'm going to go with. But now I'm definitely going to go with the tight end. And I might even go with 2 tight ends in a row. So I might just go with 2 tight ends that I feel like are really good, that I like. So Cameron Brate is one that I would pick. Charles Clay, Antonio Gates even, Austin Severian-Jenkins, Ben Watson. All these guys I would consider picking. So let's just see who falls to me, and that's who I'm going to get. So a lot of people are just picking random guys. I mean, Latavius Murray, Dion Lewis, Devin Funchess, Gio Bernard. So I have 7 receivers, 6 running backs, 1 tight end, 2 quarterbacks. Okay, so Charles Clay just went, which was one of the guys I was thinking about picking. In this draft, O.J. Howard went a lot quicker. Austin Severian-Jenkins just went. He's actually suspended, so but he should be back, and he should be a good option for you because they have no one else to throw the ball to, man. Like, who are they gonna throw to be honest with you? So. Let's see. Next pick. Zay Jones just went. I'm going to go with Cam Brate. I watched the preseason. He had a couple of targets in that game. I still think he's heavily involved in this offense, so I'm going to go with Cam Brate. And he's going to have his weeks, too, where he's going to be really, really good. So I'm going to go with Cam Brate. This next pick, I think I'm still going to go with another tight end because, that's probably my weakest position. And if I could just get as many guys as I possibly could, that would probably be best. There's literally nobody at running back. I mean, Foreman, Kamara, Marlon Mack, all these guys are just like darts. Turbin, dart. Like, Alfred Morris, Okay. So I'm almost done. This is going to be my last pick. I hope you guys enjoyed the mock draft for today. This was a best ball mock draft on playdraft.com. I recommend you check it out. And also, oops, I pressed refresh on my screen. I hope you guys check it out. Oh, I went back. Never mind. This is my league. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this mock draft. I hope to do more. If you did enjoy and you want to see me do a specific type of mock draft, maybe a specific site, a specific format, let me know. Okay, so tight end, Antonio Gates, Joku, Watson. I think the pick is Gates here, man. All right, so Gates, that's my team. I got Andrew Luck, Phillip Rivers, Jordan Howard, Isaiah Crowell, Carlos Hyde, LeGarrette Blount, CJ Prosise, Darren McFadden at the running back position. Receivers, Odell Beckham, T.Y. Hilton, Emmanuel Sanders, Stephon Diggs, Cameron Meredith, Kenny Stills, John Ross. A good mix of, safe and high potential. Tight end, Eric Ebron, Cameron Brate, and Antonio Gates. I think this is a really, really good team. Hope you guys enjoyed this mock draft. It's Mitch of the Bottom Line View. Thanks for tuning in. Peace out, guys.